Imagine this. You've spent years grinding, AAU travel, early morning workouts, highlight reel summer camps. You think you're doing everything right, and you're waiting for the college coaches to find you. But what if I told you the recruiting world you think you're in does not exist anymore? I'm Coach Keith Mondillo, and I've spent over 30 years in college athletics as a head coach and director of athletics, and as someone who has sat in the recruiting meetings for decades. I've watched this process evolve, and in the last 5 years, it's changed more than it did in the previous 20. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you how college basketball recruiting really works entering in 2026 and what you need to do right now to get noticed. And if you like this content, I update families every week on college recruiting and everything happening inside the NCAA. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's next. All right, so let's dive in. So before we start, just a quick background. Again, I'm Keith Mondillo, and for over 3 decades, I've worked in college athletics. I've been a college basketball coach and director of athletics, and I've evaluated probably thousands of high school athletes. I've recruited student athletes at every level, from players who went Division III to athletes who are good enough for the Division II and Division I rosters. And I've helped families navigate the real recruiting world and not the fantasy version they read about online. My entire mission is to help you and your family understand how this process actually works and how to control it. So here's your first step. Download my free guide. It's the College Recruiting Game Plan. Avoid the 10 costly mistakes that derail 93% of families and learn the plan that gets you noticed. The link is in the description below. Keep that guide nearby as we go along in this video, and I'll help you follow along. Let's start with the truth about the new recruiting world. Let's paint this picture. The recruiting world is transformed. If your family is still using advice from 2018 and prior to the pandemic, you're definitely behind. And we all know it all starts with the transfer portal. Last season, the 2024-25 season, about 2,320 men's basketball players entered the NCAA transfer portal. That's roughly about 11% up from the year before. Now, on the women's side, nearly 1,464 players jumped in, about 30% of all Division I women's basketball players. Think about that. Almost 1/3 of all women's college basketball players changed schools. Coaches used to build their programs by signing high school seniors. Now, they rebuild rosters with transfers, grad students, even former pros. That's right, former pros. And here's an example. London Johnson, a guard who spent 2 years in the NBA G League, that's a professional league, was recently granted by the NCAA eligibility to play for the University of Louisville. Michigan State's head coach Tom Izzo called the decision ridiculous and embarrassing, saying we've lost our minds. And honestly, he's right. The lines between college and pro sports have blurred completely. With the NIL money flowing, the house settlement agreement where you can pay athletes directly, TV contracts in the billions, college athletics at the top has become professionalized. Look what's happening in football. UCLA fired their head coach, Deshaun Foster, after just 3 games of his second season. Penn State dismissed longtime coach James Franklin midway through the season after going 3-3. And then multiple Southeast Conference and Big Ten programs had fired coaches before October, eating multi-million-dollar buyouts. Guys, as we know, Penn State alone has paid James Franklin and is paying him $50 million not to coach, because winning now matters more than anything. That win now pressure filters straight down to basketball. When coaches' jobs depend on immediate success, they recruit the same way for the short term. That's why the portal is now their first stop. They want experienced players who can help them win today. And here's the order. Coaches recruit their current roster every year. They have to re-recruit them after every season. They scan the portal for the ready-made college transfers. And then third, they always look at junior college and post-grad players. And then finally, if there's room, high school recruits. Which means if you're a high school athlete waiting for a coach to find you, you're entering the conversation at step 4. Here's where families miss the picture. And this doesn't just affect Division I. It trickles down. When the Power Fours pull more transfers, mid-majors fill holes with those displaced Division I players. Then Division II programs take transfers from the mid-majors. And then the Division III schools suddenly have fewer high school prospects to choose from because everyone's waiting to see who becomes available from above. It's the domino effect, and it changes the entire recruiting calendar. The result, Division II and Division III schools now recruit later, offer later, and take fewer risks on unproven high school players. So families, this matters to you. Pay attention because the world your son or daughter is entering is fast, louder, and more competitive than ever. And you're just not competing against other 17-year-olds. You're competing against 22-year-old college athletes, grad transfers, international players who have already had college experience. But here's the good news. The glass is always half full. If you understand how this works, you can use it to your advantage by starting early, building communication, creating great film, and being consistent. You move from the bottom of that priority list to the top of it. And that's what the rest of this video is going to be about, how to do exactly that. So let's talk about exactly how to get seen. Exposure used to mean playing on a certain circuit or traveling every weekend. And that's not the whole story anymore. Today, it's just not about being seen. It's about being seen in the right environment. Your AAU program, your event circuit, even your geography matter. But random events on huge one-day showcases aren't always the best route. Coaches have limited time. They choose where they can go strategically. The players who win the exposure games are the ones who target their events. And here's how. Go to college-hosted camps, not just generic exposure events. When you attend a college's summer camp or team camp, you're on their campus, in front of that staff, in their gym, wearing their gear. And that's relationship building. Aim for 2 to 3 targeted camps a year from your sophomore year on. Ideally, one at a dream school and one at your realistic level. And be early. Be coachable. Compete the right way. Coaches notice effort. They notice attitude and attention to detail more than flash. Film is everything, as we know. Keep your camera rolling at camps and all those events. That content becomes valuable for your highlight reel later. And here's a big myth to crush. You don't have to play on a shoe-sponsored team to get recruited. I know that for a fact. My son and all his friends who I coach in AAU did not play on a shoe circuit team. But what matters is that you're in the right place at the right time and easy for coaches to evaluate. Now, once you're in those events, the next question is, what are coaches actually looking for? Let's talk about it. Let me speak from a coach's perspective. When I'm evaluating a player, I'm not thinking who's the best scorer. I'm thinking who fits what we need. And here's what matters most. Grades. Grades matter. Coaches at Division II and especially Division III recruit grades all the time. The more doors will open for you if your grades are high. Then skill and fit. Can you play your natural position at the college level? Your basketball IQ. Do you make the right read? Do you understand time, score, and spacing? Coachability. Do you respond to feedback or roll your eyes? Character. Are you on time, locked in, positive with your teammates and with your family and friends? Consistency. Can you do it every day, not just once? And families, here's the kicker. Coaches recruit based on need. They don't need 10 scorers. They need one rebounder, one communicator, and one leader. So be honest where you fit and ask, what's my true level? Divisions 1, 2, or 3. What are my red flags? Are they grades, size, attitude, or speed? And what do I need to do to fix it this year? The players who self-evaluate and work intentionally are the ones who make it. Once you've assessed where you belong, your next step is showing it, and that's through your film. So let's talk about video strategy. Film is your handshake now. Most college coaches will give your highlight videos 60 seconds before deciding if they want to keep watching. That's it. That's the honest truth. I spoke to several Division II coaches this weekend who said, I watch no more than 60 seconds. If they don't show me something right away, I move on. So here's the key. You must lead with your top 3 to 5 plays. You've heard that a million times. No long intros, no slow music, no logo spinning for 10 seconds. Show decision making, defense, hustle, leadership, and just not scoring. Skip fancy editing. Clarity beats hype every time. And always host your film on YouTube, not a locked platform like Huddle or some file sharing site. Why? Because when you attach a YouTube link to an email or a text message, a college coach can just click and watch it immediately. They don't need to download anything. They don't get hit with Huddle commercials, and they don't have to wait for permissions. One click, and they're evaluating you. That's why every recruit should start a YouTube channel. And yes, even as a freshman or an 8th grader. Here's how to use it right. Upload new content regularly. Game clips, highlights, workouts, or development videos. And then label each video clearly. Class of 26, freshman year, sophomore year full of games, game films and showcase plays, junior year, senior year final highlights and workouts. Create organized playlists for highlights, full games, and workouts so coaches can easily click what they need. On your channel homepage, list your name, your class year, position, height and weight, GPA, your high school, your AAU team, and any contact info. That's what turns your channel into a living recruiting profile. Something coaches can check, revisit, and track as you grow. And here's the underrated part. YouTube gives coaches unlimited access to your development story. They can see how you improve, how your body's matured, and how your game has evolved over 4 years. When you make it easy for coaches to evaluate you, guys, they will. If you make it complicated, they'll just move on. Film gets their attention, but it doesn't start the relationship. Once you've earned those 60 seconds, the next question becomes, how do I actually start a conversation with that coach? And that's where most athletes fall short. So let's spend some real time on that. Communication is still the most underrated part of recruiting. Think of it this way. If a coach sees you play once, writes your name down, and never hears from you again, you disappear into a list of 100 players. But if you follow up, send updates, and keep in touch, you go from a name on a list to someone I know and remember. That's the power of communication. So let's break this down year by year. Your freshman and sophomore years, you need to build a habit. At this stage, coaches cannot contact you directly, but you can still get on their radar. This is the time to establish professional habits and show maturity. The emails you should send, introductory email. Your purpose is to introduce yourself, show interest, and share your first highlight link. A thank you after a camper visit. And that purpose is to express gratitude and stay visible after exposure events. The academic update. The purpose is to demonstrate that you're more than an athlete. You're recruitable academically too. Even one short, well-written note after a camper showcase shows that you're organized and serious. It tells a coach, this kid gets it. You're not begging for attention, you're building recognition. Start early, even if it feels small. The athletes who begin communication as freshmen or sophomores are the ones who feel confident and natural by junior year. Your junior year, it's when you gain traction and build momentum. This is where things get real. Coaches are now actively recruiting, evaluating, and narrowing their lists. Your communication needs to be steady and purposeful. Every 4 to 6 weeks with something new to say. The emails you should send, your preseason update, your updated highlight film email, a camp or visit follow-up, and a scholarship or roster spot inquiry. Each message is short and professional, but collectively, they tell a story of progress. Your email cadence should mirror how a strong recruit behaves. Clear, consistent, and confident. If a coach knows your name before the July evaluation period, that's not luck, it's communication done right. Now, by senior year, relationships should already exist. Now, your emails become clarity, updates, and closure. Emails you should send your senior year kickoff update, and you share any new film stats or final academic standing. Your midseason update, that's to keep your name fresh and show continued improvement. The decision timeline notice. Professionally communicate your college decision timeframe. And thank you and final follow-up. And maintain respect and professionalism regardless of the outcome. This is where emotional intelligence matters. Coaches remember players who communicate with gratitude and maturity. And even if they choose another school, your reputation can follow you in a good way for years. And why does this matter? Communication is your separator. Player A posts a highlight film and waits. Player B posts, emails, follows up, thanks the coach, and provides updates. Guess who gets remembered? Always, always player B. Because recruiting isn't just about talent, it's about trust. Coaches invest in players who show discipline, follow through, and awareness. Every email you send is proof of that mindset. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. Coach, I get it, but I still don't know what to say when I email a coach. Well, that's exactly why I created my most popular product to date, the College Coach Communication System. And here's the truth. Communication is the part families mess up the most. They either say too little and never get noticed, or they overshare and never get a reply. Coaches in college receive hundreds of messages each week. If you don't know how to stand out, you just get lost in the pile. The communication system fixes all that. It gives you every word, every template, and every strategy I've used as a college coach for more than 30 years. Inside, you'll get 3 of my most trusted recruiting books: the email playbook, the Q&A playbook, and the Parents Recruiting Survival Guide. Plus, I give you my exclusive training video on how to stand out at AU events. And it's all bundled for less than what it costs to enter an AU tournament over a weekend in the summer. And we know that could be $75 to $100. It's less than that. Here's why this has become my best-selling resource ever. You know exactly what to say in every situation. First email, follow-up, thank you, or post-event update. You'll stop second-guessing yourself and start communicating like a real college recruit. You finally understand how coaches think, so your message hits differently. And within a week, you'll have a complete communication plan that instantly makes you more visible to college staffs. The families who've used it tell me the same thing. Coach, we finally feel confident talking to college coaches. That confidence changes everything, because once you know how to communicate, you take control of your recruiting journey instead of waiting and hoping. So if you're tired of guessing what to write, tired of wondering if you're being too pushy or too quiet, the College Coach Communication System is your blueprint. Grab it right now. The link is in the description below. It's the fastest, clearest, most proven way to start real conversations with college coaches. And it's the same system I wish every family had when I first started coaching. All right, let's keep building. Now that you're communicating, you need to know where you fit in the hierarchy. Let's take a step back and really look how the recruiting ladder works in 2026. Here's the honest truth. Coaches don't start their recruiting lists with high school athletes anymore. We've already talked about that. They start with re-recruiting their own team. First, they work to keep the players they already have. They make sure no one transfers, no one hits the portal, and no one gets unhappy about playing time or NIL money. Retention is recruiting now. And then second, coaches hit the transfer portal hard. That's their quick fix. They can grab a player who's already proven at the college level. That player's already used to the physicality and they're ready to play right away. It's the college version of free agency. And it's where most of the early attention goes. And then third, coaches move on to junior college, prep school, or post-grad. Why? Because those players are older too. They're physically more developed, often hungry for a second chance. They've already been through a college weight room or a structured program. And finally, the fourth tier comes the high school recruit. That's where most of you live. You're not the first stop anymore. You're the last. So as a high school athlete, you're not just starting on even ground. You're climbing from the bottom of the ladder. But here's the good news. You can climb fast if you play the game the right way. Because if you've done everything we've talked about, build great film, communicate early, stay consistent, and show growth, you're just not another unknown name in a database. You're a known player. You've already proven that you understand what it means to recruit yourself. Let's put the numbers in perspective. In men's basketball last year, for 2,300 players entered the transfer portal. On the women's side, over 1,400 athletes did the same thing. That's thousands of players moving around college basketball every single year. And now add the G League eligibility story, where the player who's been paid professionally was just allowed to compete in college. And then the NIL landscape, where some players are making more money than their assistant coaches. That's the environment coaches are operating in now. They're under more pressure than ever to win now. And what does that mean for you? It means coaches are taking fewer high school players. They are recruiting later, and they're looking for athletes who are already organized, ready, and proactive. And it's not just Division I. Divisions 2 and 3 coaches are feeling that same ripple effect. They're waiting to see which players trickle down from higher levels before they make their own offers. They're also managing tighter rosters and scholarship budgets, which means fewer spots for high school seniors. So what can you do about it? You can get ahead. You start communicating early than everyone else. You make your film easy to find and your updates impossible to ignore. You become the recruit who coaches already know by name before the portal dust even settles. Because here's the truth. Timing is everything in this new era. And the athletes who move early, who take action before everyone else, are the ones who keep doors open while others are still waiting for calls that will never come. That's why proactive communication and visibility are your superpowers now. They don't just move you up the list, they keep you in the conversation. Now, let's talk about what really separates good players from great recruits. The intangibles that every coach looks for and the habits that will make you impossible to overlook. When coaches evaluate talent, the highlight reel stuff matters. But what really wins them over are the intangibles. There are the things that separate good athletes from college-ready athletes. They're the traits that make a coach trust you in the final 2 minutes of a tight game. So let's break it down. Basketball IQ. At the college level, teaching time is shorter. Coaches don't have the luxury of re-explaining concepts for weeks. They need players who can learn quickly and retain details. A player with high basketball IQ sees the game in slow motion. They recognize defensive rotations, understand spacing, and anticipate the next pass before the ball even leaves a teammate's hands. Now, when you have a low basketball IQ player, the game moves 100 miles an hour. They're thinking instead of reacting. They're late on help, late on cuts, late on reads. High IQ players, on the other hand, make the game easier for everyone, and that makes their coach look good. If you can process quickly and make good decisions, you'll always have a spot. Communication, and this is a non negotiable. At the next level, quiet players disappear. College coaches want players who communicate, who call out screens, direct traffic, encourage teammates, and take ownership of the floor. A loud gym is usually a good gym. So communication builds chemistry, and chemistry builds trust. When you talk, you show confidence, leadership, and awareness. And the truth is, every coach notices the talkers because talkers turn into captains. All right, your body language. No slumping shoulders, no eye rolls, no walking back on defense after a turnover. Coaches watch this closer than they watch your jump shot. Why? Because body language reveals mindset. If you make a mistake and immediately point a finger, drop your head, or sulk, it tells a coach you're not ready for adversity. But if you sprint back, clap your hands, and stay locked in, that tells me you're coachable, resilient, and emotionally mature. College basketball is tough. Practices are long, competition is fierce, and playing time isn't guaranteed. Your ability to respond with good body language says more than any stat line ever. Then work ethic. Consistency beats talent every single time. Every coach loves a hard worker. Talent might get you in the door, but consistency keeps you there. Improvement over time, that's the real separator. If I can see growth from freshman to senior year, that tells me you love the game. It means you're not waiting for someone to push you, you push yourself. The best players I've coached weren't always the most gifted, but they were relentless. They showed up early, stayed late, watched film, and asked questions. They treated every day like an opportunity to get 1% better. And then role acceptance. Do the dirty work that helps teams win. Every team has scorers. That's easy to find. What's rare are players who embrace the role. The rebounders, the defenders, the screen setters, the players who dive on the floor for loose balls. When you buy into your role, you make everyone around you better. You earn trust. And once a coach trusts you, your role will grow. College coaches notice players who celebrate assists, who sprint to help teammates up, who bring energy off the bench. Those are the players that make championship cultures. Now, here's my final thought. Everyone can score. Only a few know how to win. And winning players, the ones with high IQs, communication, great body language, relentless work habits, and role acceptance, they make the game easier for everyone else. Be one of those few. That's how you move from being a prospect to being a priority recruit. All right, so let's wrap it up and talk about how you can take everything we've just covered and turn it into an action starting this week. So here's your next move. Download the free guide, The College Recruitment Game Plan. It's linked below. Read it this week. It'll help you avoid the biggest mistakes families make. And if you're ready to level up, and I mean this, to learn how to email coaches, follow up, and stay on their radar, check out my college coaching communication system. It's everything you need to master communication in this new world of recruiting. You don't need to guess your way through this process. There's a plan. And if you follow it, you'll move from confused and frustrated to confident and focused. Remember, this isn't about just getting recruited. It's about finding the right fit, the right school, and thriving when you get there. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this video, like, subscribe, and share it. Share it with another family going through this process. Drop your questions or biggest takeaways in the comments. I try and read everyone and personally respond to all of them. And guys, again, I'm Coach Keith Mondillo. Let's get you noticed. Let's get you recruited, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.